Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good everything. Welcome to the Ask Jason Weiss show. It is about that time. We are here at noon Eastern on the 13th of June. Very excited to be here. And before we get started and before we dig into the content like we always do, here is my disclaimer. Although I am a lawyer, although I am an attorney, nothing today is considered legal advice. Should you seek legal advice, financial advice, or any advice having to do with real estate, as a hint, as what we're going to be talking about today, consult an attorney directly. There's no attorney-client privilege here, and nothing I say you should rely upon for anything in your life. Other than if you are looking to buy or sell in the South Florida market, then I have the one-stop shop right here. His name is Ross.Zipper. And real quick, I think it was the first or second house I was ever getting ready to buy. And I used the Zipper family in order to help me. And then his mom, who was the one who was running it, she left, moved to the other side of the United States, and I was stuck without a realtor. And all of a sudden I know, hey, my son Ross is still there, and so that's it. So now we stayed in the Zipper family. We are very happy. And we don't take for granted because we appreciate him. But one of the things I'm going to talk about is what he does as a real estate agent and or broker as compared to what other brokers and agents do is mind blowing. And I guess I've been spoiled because most of my houses I've used him, and it's a one-stop shop. So without any further ado, Ross.Zipper, affiliated with your Coldwell Banker. Just want to make sure. And one of the things, Ross, I guess we'll start right now is I've used two terms. I've talked about a realtor and a broker, and a lot of people don't understand the difference. So why don't you explain to them if you're a realtor or a broker and what that means? So let's start there.
So for me, and even for my mother, being a realtor, or being a broker, I should say, is someone who I believe manages a firm, right? So there's in my office, Coldwell Banker, our broker, Stephen Wyrob, he's amazing. He essentially manages the day-to-day, and he also manages all the brokers.
And so that's the job of a broker. A broker is the one at the end of the day that says, hey, we can we could take we could waive a fee, or we could do this, or we could do that, or yes, we can sign, or yes, there's an addendum, or all of that. Whereas Ross, who is a realtor, and I don't mean that as just a realtor, but he's a realtor, Ross focuses on getting the people into the property, getting them the contract, and then he holds your hand through the rest of the process. And that's what I want to focus on here. Yes.
Yeah, and we'll look at it from the listing side and also from the buyer side. I will say, people ask me all the time, Ross, why don't you become a broker? I don't want the liability, like you said, Jason. I want to do the day-to-day. I want to help people buy and sell their homes. It's your biggest asset and investment, and I feel I would rather put all my time doing that than having to worry about the legal aspect of it.
So let's start that. Let's pick. You want to in this transaction, you want to represent the buyer or the seller?
I'll represent the seller.
Okay, so you're representing the seller. Now here, and you're only licensed in Florida, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so here in Florida, there are two. No, you actually don't have much to do with that. So okay, so he represents the seller. We're gonna call the seller in this instance Rose, right? We know that name because Ross actually helped my mom when she was selling her home. So Rose decides that she wants to go ahead and sell her house, and she has no clue what to do. And she's watching this show, and she goes, "Ooh, I like that Ross guy. He seems very knowledgeable. He's a good-looking guy. He's very attentive. I like him." Phone rings, and hi, my name is Rose. I saw you on the show, and I have a house in Boca that I want to sell. What do I do, Ross?
So So essentially what I do is I'll get obviously the most important information, your address. I'll look up the tax record. I'll do a CMA essentially based on your home and the neighborhood. And a lot of the times I can't really give you an accurate analysis of your home until I physically see it, because it depends on, what you've done to the home, etc. So I like to just
come to my house, have a cup of coffee, check.
I go to your house, and I'll tell you, it's funny because a lot of the times I go to the house and we go through the whole thing, and most of the time they don't like what I have to say, but I'm the type of person. This is my business. This is what I've done a long time. Please listen to me, because if you listen to me, I will get you the most for your house in the shortest amount of time. And that's really where, today, when you go into these homes and you've lived there for so long, it's clutter, clutter, clutter. And half the time it's like, hey, listen, you got to do this, this, and this. I'm like, well, what are you talking about? Because you have to depersonalize your home. You have to make it to where when somebody walks in your home, they need to feel like, oh, I can call this my home. If it's too personalized with all your stuff, it could be a problem.
Right. And look, I've got 2 kids. You've got kids. We're both very proud of our children. We're both proud of our family. And you walk in, and I'm sure there's family photos and there's my marriage license on the wall and all that. But you want that person to come in and that wall to just be like a mirror, right? So that they can see themselves on that wall. Or it's not the Weiss family grew up here. The Weiss family did this. It's us, the Smiths. This is where we want to be. This
Start packing is what I say.
Start packing. And I know I gave him a heart attack when he came into my prior house, and he looked in one of the rooms that I had as my office, and I had more autographs and more pictures of me with celebrities and entertainers and actors and all this. And he goes, first thing he walks in, he's like, go to Home Depot, buy spackle, spackle up all the holes. What do you mean? Spackle up the holes. Take all the pictures down and box them away. No. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I remember what you said. I don't want people remembering, oh, that's the house with all the memorabilia and him with all of these things. No, you want that to say, that was the house with the what do we have? Leopard carpet, I think, in there. That was the house with the leopard carpet. That'll be great for our daughter. She'll love it. And it's very, I think there's a lot of mind games that are going on. Now, where do you but how do you handle the client that, like, all right, so my neighbor just sold their house for $1 million. What do you think I should get? And you do your research and you're like, 700 grand. Why'd they get $1 million? Why am I only going to list for 700 or all of that? So I guess 2-pronged question. Number one, what do you base your listing prices on? And B, where do you see the market going? Up, down, sideways, left, right?
So when a lot of listing agents go into a home, they use one. It's called I can't even think of it because I don't even.
And just for clarification for the listeners and everybody, a listing agent is the one that, hey, I want to sell my house, and you quote unquote, you don't hire, but you engage Ross or Coldwell. You engage them, and they're the ones that show it. And here in Florida, the norm is 6% on residential still, correct?
Well, and we'll get into that as well.
Okay. Well, so the agent like Ross and another agent who may bring, they split a commission of a certain amount. It could be 5%, 6%, 7%, and Ross will talk about that. So that's one of the questions. Well, how does Ross get paid? Well, Ross gets paid when the house gets sold, and he gets a piece of the action. So it is always in Ross's best interest to sell the house for as much as humanly possible, because if he sells it and gets a percentage and you sell it for 100,000, he'll walk away with what, $3,000? But if you sell it for 200,000, you'll walk away with $6,000, and it keeps going and going based on the percentage. So his goal is always to get his seller the best bang for the buck. So My original question was, how do you figure out the pricing and where do you see the market going?
So I use the tax record because there's a lot of sales recently that have actually sold off market. You won't see them on the multiple listing service, which is what all realtors use. So I'll do my own research on the tax record to see what has sold in the neighborhood. I will use the MLS to create a comparative market analysis to see what has sold in the neighborhood. And then I'll go to your home and see what you've done to that house to see where we can position ourselves as far as putting it on the market. I, as a realtor, always like to give a little room because there's also algorithms that the MLS uses and all these websites use. So you don't really want to list it for what it's worth, because if you don't get anybody to buy if nobody buys your house in the first 2 or 3 weeks, it essentially becomes stale. And then you pigeonhole yourself into probably taking less than what it's truly worth.
Right. And that's like anything. Look, you go to a car dealership and you're buying a car and the sticker price says it's 50,000. You know, are you going to be able to get it for 48? Sure. Are they willing to take 45? Sure. So you can't say, okay, my house is worth 700. Let's list it for 700. You're going to say, okay, my house is worth probably 700. So let's list it for 750, 770, 710, 7, depending on where you want to go.
And today's market,
open and honest communication with your realtor is truly the best way to go, because you can turn to someone like Ross and say, look, Ross, at the end of the day, I need in my pocket $500,000 because that's what I need for my next house. So then Ross works backwards. Okay, $500,000. You have this, you have taxes, you have fees, you have commissions, you have this. Okay, for you to walk away with 500 grand, you have to sell for, I'm going to throw out a number, 600. But you don't want to take a chance at 600, so you list it 660.
And I'll tell you, there's more times than not I set records in communities because it's about creating the listing for other buyers to see. Whereas I'll give you an example. I just listed a house in Lotus, which is very close to your neighborhood, Jason.
Yeah, very nice. Very. For those listeners that don't know Boca, Lotus is very nice.
Yeah. So it's a tract community. So every house essentially looks the same, right? And so I was competing with 4 of the same model that was built in the same time. They were built in 2020, right? They were all listed at $1.8 million. My guy wanted $1 million. He wanted $1.8 million. But I said, well, if we listed at $1.8 million, buyers today want a good deal, right? So you can create it, right? So if you stage your house correctly, and I can't stress this enough, if you could put an extra $5,000 into your home to make an extra $50,000, why wouldn't you do it?
So, and to the non-sophisticated buyers and sellers, okay, I have $5,000 I can put into my house. How do I make it better? What do you do?
Hey, you have orange walls, paint them white. You have disgusting carpet, get them cleaned. You have bare walls that might need a little artwork, go to Home Goods. It's just little things that make such a big difference.
But I noticed you said clean the carpet, don't replace the carpet.
If you can get away with cleaning it, clean it.
Because why would you want to replace it? And let's just say you pick a gray and the new owner goes in and goes, oh my God, that room would look great with pink carpet. You didn't want to spend that money. But if you steam clean it and it looks clean, the person's going to come in and say, oh my God, pink carpet would be so good there. And you spend $100 steam cleaning it as opposed to $1,000 recarpeting.
Yeah.
And if you're going to recarpet, you might as well just do wood floors.
Or if you have an office that's in disarray, right? I will say, can you work somewhere else, or can you figure it out? Let's empty this out or empty the room, and I'll virtually stage it.
So I'm going to give a real life experience. Office disarray. So it was after COVID was done, I moved out of my office. I'm working 100% from the home, and my office desk, what I'm currently sitting at, is an old dining room table. It is what, 10 feet, 12 feet long?
Yeah.
It's huge, huge. And Ross looks around and he goes, no. And we compromised. I bought a large tablecloth, and we draped it down, and all of the crap that he wanted off the walls and put away, but things I needed went underneath, and it was all under the table. So if you're sitting where I'm sitting, you would just see a nice table and a tablecloth and a computer and a screen and whatever else that looked great. But underneath, it was all this crap that's behind me, and all that crap over there. So
and there it is.
There it is. There it is.
You know, and Jason's mother, Rose, and father, Bruce, they had this collection of mugs. And I walked, they had a collection of mugs and a collection of clocks. But getting these clocks off the wall was probably going to be a little more challenging. So we said, leave the clocks, but let's pack the mugs. And I'll tell you, every time I go and list a home, there's like a 3-week period, because it takes somebody that much time to really truly get their house, you know, together to list for the market. And I won't list it if it's not ready. But
so wait, let's take a step back. So I think, so what I'm hearing is, let's just say I want to sell my house, right? And I want to be out by the end of the summer. So it's June. I want to be out by August, right? I should probably call you now so that you could come out, you could do your assessment, and you could say, okay, use the month of June to go ahead and do all of these things, and we'll list you right after July 4th. Because nobody's going to come to your house during July 4th, but right afterwards, that's when you're going to get some traction.
But also, fast forward to today and not 18 months ago, we're back to somewhat of a normal market, right? So
what does that mean?
So traditionally, if a family's transitioning from the Northeast or wherever they live, Chicago, whatever, they have to get their kids in school. So when do they start looking? They start looking in May, June, end of July, August, you miss the boat.
Right. You want to be closed and living. And I think the schools in Broward, Broward, Palm Beach, whatever, I think they only require you to be there at the day of enrollment, but you don't want your kids missing school. So school down here starts the 15th to 20th of August. You want to be in and settled by August 17th, August 10, August 1.
It's also with condos, right? Condos are dead right now because everybody looking at condos is where? They're up north. They're elsewhere. So now it's really about timing too, more so than what it was 18 months ago, where you could put really anything on the market and sell it within a reasonable time.
And a lot of times it was above asking. You know, you list it for $100,000 and people are selling it for $110,000 because people are coming in and they really want it. I remember we had that problem, right? There were houses you had lined up to go with my wife, and you had 3 going, and you call and you confirm the night before, and 2 of them were off the market. We're like, you know.
It also helps to know. It really truly also helps to really work with an agent that is full time and that knows all the other agents, because that also will help you in a situation.
So I know, like, when I was buying and selling my first house, which was probably like 2001, everybody and their mother was a realtor, literally everybody. It was because all that would happen is you stick your sign in the ground and you'd sell the house.
Yeah.
So that wasn't a normal market. And then afterwards, when I was trying to sell in 2006, I couldn't even get tire kickers to come to the house. So from one extreme to the other, and I experienced them both as a buyer and a seller. So where do you see the market today, meaning June 2024?
So today we're somewhat back to a normal market, right? But if you do the right things to sell your home, you will sell it.
Okay. Now hang on. We're back to the normal market. Everything is good. Stay tuned, listeners, because we have about a 30-second to a minute commercial coming up. But come back and listen, because Ross is going to give you some of the secrets about the right things so that you could sell at A, a good price, and B, a decent amount of time. And we'll get to that. So everybody, bear with us. I have Ross.Zipper, Coldwell Banker. Ross, your because I always like to do it before we sign off for a commercial. Best way to contact you. I don't see the email on the bottom. I apologize, Silverio.
My cell phone. It's attached to my hip.
Okay, his cell phone is attached to his hip. He'll give it out when we come back from commercial. So Silverio, we're ready for our commercial, sir. We are back. We're talking about the South Florida market with Ross.Zipper, the realtor. And he teased us by he would give out his cell phone when we came back from commercial. So we are back from commercial. So real quick, although Ross is a realtor and I am an attorney, nothing we say here is legal advice, is market advice, is investment advice, anything like that. We're giving you some generic tips and suggestions. So Ross, give out the personal cell phone number that you want the world to have.
All right. My cell is 561-699-2791. Again, it is attached to my hip. I will pick it up 24/7. My wife doesn't like it, but it is what it is.
Hey, you've got school to pay for kids, so you're all good there. You can also get them at Ross.Zipper at floridamoves.com, and you can always check out the zippergroup.com. Okay, so what we're talking about is that the market as we sit here has kind of normalized, right? You're not seeing houses that are worth $1 million selling for $1.7 million anymore. You're not seeing houses going on the market today and being off market and sold tomorrow. You're not seeing people getting more than asking prices anymore. But Ross is still selling houses, still has inventory, still looking for inventory. So some of the tricks of the trades, and one of the things that I'm going to talk about is the outside professional that you hire that does some of the I talk about that as well, because my mom thought he was awesome.
So first off, everybody should use a professional photographer, right? If your agent's not using a professional photographer, you found the wrong agent.
And real quick, if your agent is going online and taking pictures like you're in a condo and using those pictures, you are subjecting yourself and the agent to potential copyright infringement. Been there, done that, defended people and prosecuted people. So please, do what Ross said. If you listen to nothing that we talk about today, make sure your agent either he or her goes in, I don't care if it's with their own cell phone and snaps pictures, hires a professional photographer, gets a whole media thing. Do not just go ahead and grab photos off MLS or Google, because just because it's out there doesn't mean you can have it. All right, so Ross, hire a professional photographer. Why?
Because if you don't, nobody's going to show up at your house. It's a detriment to the seller. It's photography is everything. I always say pictures are 1,000 words, right? So you want the photography done right. And where do you go? Professional photographer. Staging.
And if you're scrolling through photos and stuff, right? If you see a house online, you're like, you're going to skip past it. If you see a house online and go, wow, that's awesome. Hey, I want to go see that house, right? That's your curb appeal, that first photo. Because in the past, it used to be, hey, let's get in the car, let's drive, let's check them all out. I call
it the money shot. I always say to my photographer, I need at least 5 money shots. Because people will scroll, they'll look at the first picture and then have interest. And so you want to have like 3 or 4 to follow to say, hey, we need to go check this house out. Also, too much photography could also be a detriment because somebody might feel like, well, wait a second, I just saw this whole house. I don't need to see anymore. I'm not really interested. So really only give the photos that truly would get some. That's my goal, is to get as many people to your house as possible, right? So what's the easiest way to do it? Get beautiful photography. Only put the photos that are necessary. People take photos of garages, of, you know.
Well, you'd probably want a picture of your garage if you felt like my old house, right? We had a 4-car garage.
Yeah,
that's unique. That's not something that was normal when we bought a new house. And
but I would shoot it from the outside, not the inside. Listen, my neighbor has his garage. What he did to his garage is amazing. He probably put in $60,000 into his garage because he's a car person. I'm going to take the pictures of that garage, but I'm not going to take pictures of my garage because I have all my kids' stuff everywhere. It's just not appealing. Also, you know, primary closets. Like, unless it's like this big, gorgeous, well-kept closet, I'm not taking pictures of that either.
So you would take a picture of my wife's closet, not mine. Got it. All right, understood. I got it. All of her stuff is color-coded in the right direction. Mine's just all flung everywhere. So okay.
So staging. When somebody drives up to the house, curb appeal, right? The first thing they see, you want to make sure that your landscaping is done nicely. That if you need mulch, go get mulch. It's like cheap. You gotta. It's like certain things that people miss, and it kills me. And this is going back to what I said before. I have this listing in Lotus. I listed it for $1,899,000. Every other of the same model was listed at $1,000,008. What did they do? They did exactly what I told them to do. Get the house pressure washed, the roof pressure washed, do the landscaping. They had a beautiful built-in, but it was just not. I said, make it look like the model. What did they do? They went to Home Goods. They staged it just like the model. And sometimes I tell people, go into one of these communities, these GL community models, and get some ideas of what you can do to make your house, you know, look much better than the next. Because if you're talking about a tract home, they're all very similar besides what the individual owner puts into it. But if you can make this thing, like I say to everybody, when we take photography, get everything off your countertops. And make it look like a luxury hotel. When somebody walks in, you want them to be like, wow, I want to see that house again. And that's what happened in Lotus, that there was four other of the same models. They were all very beautiful, but the difference between mine and theirs is when the prospective buyer walked in, it was clean. It was like nobody lived there. And to somebody spending $1.8 million, they love that, because today, depending on the price point, if it's 1.8 or 2 or 3 million, people don't want to do anything anymore. And so if they could go in and say, wow, I could literally bring my toothbrush, it's going to be that much better. If this house was the way it was when I walked in, we wouldn't have got the buyer that we got, because they would have been like, oh, this is gross. They've got 3 kids running around. There's crap everywhere. It's you really want to make it as nice and it's goes.
So you got that house sold or under contract?
It's sold. And the other ones that were listed for 100,000 less are still on the market. Now they're actually reducing. And the agents are calling me saying, how did you do it? And I said, it's simple. Just you have to have your sellers listen to what you. And it's like, yeah, you're right. It's mind blowing.
I remember a trick that your mom told us to do, that whenever we were showing the house or an open house or whatever it was, to go ahead and take some frozen cookies from Publix or wherever and put them on the tray and just bake them a little bit. So when somebody walks in, they're like, "Ooh, those cookies smell good." I mean, one of the things about City Furniture, the only reason I was able to ever get my kids to go there when they were younger. If we go, could we get the cookies? Yeah, all right, we'll go. That's what it was. So you gotta appeal to people's senses, visual, touching, cleaning, whatever it is. And like you said, if you're spending that kind of money, $1.8 million on a house, you want to move in and be ready. You don't want to have to move in and I got this and I got that and I got to do this. The other thing with the photos is if you have a bathroom that needs to be renovated, don't take a picture of it.
Also, let's talk about another price point. Let's just say 500 to, or let's say 400 to 800,000, right? The prospective buyer for that home, you should almost, as a listing agent, say, hey, obviously you want to see what the age of the AC and the hot water and the roof is, because to a buyer at 800,000, in their mind, it's like, well, what do I have to put into this house after the fact, right? So it's almost sometimes good to do a pre-inspection. So when your prospective buyer does come, you kind of already know what issues there are, and you could say, hey, listen, this is the situation here, but we'll take care of it at closing, or we'll give a credit, or do whatever you have to do to get the deal done. But you don't want to go through the process and then go to inspection and say, oh my God, what's going to go on here? And then if they cancel, now you have to disclose, right? So you should kind of know that information up front.
And it looks like someone wants you to disclose something to them in the background. We hear or giving a little bark like, Daddy, I got to go out. Let me out, Dad. So where do you see, we hear about it all the time. The interest rates are going through sky high and all this and all that. And so South Florida market.
I can only talk South Florida market. I think we're going to be perfectly fine.
South Florida market, which is what? Palm Beach, Broward, Dade? Is that what we want to define it as?
I think the market is the market's going to, the market's not crashing. There's still too many people moving here, and the inventory is still scarce. Why? Because there's people that are locked into these interest rates at 2.5% to 3%, and they're not selling their houses. So the inventory, yes, it's up, but it's not what it was, back in 2008. Let's say it's a different market. So I think if you just do the right things to market the home, you should be able to sell it for a good number, and you should be very happy. I truly think, because my family's been in real estate for as long as we've been, since 1991, I think South Florida has always been undervalued. I think
why do you say that?
Well, because we're 10 minutes to the beach.
But that means you're also close to a hurricane.
I've been here since 1991. I've put my shutters up once. We moved here right after Andrew. And so, hurricane.
I've put shutters up at least 4 or 5 times. I was here for Andrew. I was here for Wilma. I was here for all those ones after. And again, we also get the scares, right? I mean, we get the scare.
It's a lot of scares.
I mean, Look, right now we're under flood watches and everything. I was monitoring my flight. I'm supposed to be getting on a flight tonight at 7:00. Just got changed to 9:15. So I don't know what's going to happen. And the 4:00 flight.
I'd love to scare a few of these people out of here.
But don't get scared. Come to South Florida. Use Ross. Buy a house. So
we would call the New Yorkers halfbacks, and I sell a lot of them. They would come from New York to Florida. They'd spend 10, 12, 15 years here and then move to North Carolina.
Yeah, that's basically what it is. A stepping stone.
I think the South Florida market's still very good. Interest rates.
Where do you see? And I'm only going to talk about Florida. Do you see another up and coming area? I know, it was always Miami, then it was Fort Lauderdale, then it was Weston, then it was Parkland, then it was Boca and Delray and Boynton. Do you see that market going up? Like Orlando is hot right now, right?
Yeah, well, because it's, everybody's scared of the insurance hikes and whatnot. And so the further north you go, the cheaper your insurance is, the newer your home will be for the price point. A lot of people are moving to like Port St. Lucie, Stewart area, but it's gotten also now it's getting expensive,
Orlando and Ocala, that's next for me.
But it's like, I tell people all the time, it's like, stay where you are if you're going to move to Ocala, right? I mean,
hey, you can I get a ranch, for half the price of my house here. We'll see. I'm going to start sending Ross up there to start looking at properties for me.
2 more years for you, Jay, right?
No, she's starting high school, so I got 4 years.
You got a while.
4 years, yeah, 4 years. 4 years, I'm set. So all right, so we talked a little bit about when you're representing the homeowner and staging it and all of that. Let's go to the flip side.
All right,
I want to come to South Florida. I want my kids in the best possible schools. And this is my budget, and you can come up with any number you want. So I saw you on the show. Now what do I do, Mr. Zipper?
So it's funny for me. I am so brutally honest. I've lived here I went to elementary, middle, and high school here. I know all the neighborhoods in Boca and Delray and Boynton, and I feel sometimes I'm a little too honest. I know that might come off wrong, but it's like I always give my personal opinion of the property that I show. But essentially what happens is I would put you on a subscription based on your criteria. And I'll always give you, what I think of each school and where you should be. A lot of people today are sending their kids to private schools. So if you're sending your kid to a private school, there are some really nice areas that don't have good schools. So I kind of go through that as well. But it's really just, it's more about, it's not about, as crazy as it sounds, it's not about quality of construction anymore. It's about lifestyle, right? So the first thing I like to find out is like, what do you guys like to do? Are your kids in sports? And kind of find out more about their lifestyle before I actually dive into, the type of home that they're looking for.
So you got to do all of that and the type of home and the schools. I mean, I know private schools have been blowing up. That's where most people want to go because of, education. And again, you got to focus on that. If you want pickleball because that's what you love, well, currently in my community, we don't have pickleball courts. They're building them, but currently they don't have them. So you're not going to want to go here. You'll probably want to go to, I'm guessing Lotus has pickleball, right?
Yes, they do.
And it's not just old people like me.
No,
in the
they're
late
actually
40s, 50s, and 60s anymore. It's everybody. And
it's funny that you say that because Valencia Grand, which is right down the street from you, they're actually they built a indoor pickleball facility. It's a 55+ community, and they, from a marketing perspective, they are diving into this indoor pickleball facility because people, like you said, will not move into a community if it doesn't have those.
We just had a whole big vote and assessment and all this to put pickleball in our community. I don't care. Sure, let's have pickleball. That's good for me. Let's not have it. I don't care. When my wife explained to me what the cost would be for pickleball, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
it is what it is. What can you do?
Becomes a big sport. It's crazy. Honestly.
It is nuts. It is nuts. So we're getting close to the end. And again, you can find Ross. He gave out his cell phone number, but we'll put it up there one more time. And I always 561-699-2791. You can always text him, say, hey, I saw you on the show and I want to buy or sell. But I always end the show with my toughest question. And here we go. Your favorite movie having to do with real estate.
Woo! Help me out here, Jay.
So the one that I lived was called The Money Pit. I bought a house and it not
Money Pit.
The Money Pit. I mean, every single time I turned around, it was how to replace this, how to replace that, windows.
So I'm just gonna say, so Home Alone, right? The house, the special, it's actually currently on the market right now.
How much?
I think it's around $9 million.
So Ross will help you get it for 8.99.
But it's funny because everybody hates what they did to the home. They modernized it, and it's no longer the Home Alone house. And people are like, they just ruined everything, and da 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 da. So it was actually pretty funny to see. It's on the market right now. They added a full court indoor basketball court in the basement as well.
That's cool. In the basement, I like that.
Yeah.
I put it in a dining room. So, but you got to remember, and what Ross just said, it's to each person and their liking, right? So if you think you want to sell your house and you want to rip up all the carpet and put down, different carpet or different floors, speak to your realtor first, because your realtor might say no. Like, that's part of the appeal, that you can rip out your carpet and put your own, or you can give a credit for the carpet to do your own. Or so you don't want to undertake massive amounts of money unless it's like, there's a leak or this. You don't want to do that. You want people to go in and say, yeah, I can make it my way if it's priced right. Or, wow, this place is spot on. I don't need to make any changes. But don't be in between. So come down to South Florida, reach out to Ross.Zipper at floridamoves.com, thezippergroup.com, and of course, 561-699-2791. Remember, he has younger kids and a wife, so we don't want to piss them off too much. So
now a dog.
and now a dog. And that's it. Not sleeping like my dog down here. He's sound asleep, snoring. So hopefully not everybody's listening. Ross, thank you so much for this.
Thank you, Jason.
Pleasure having you. And again, pleasure that you basically spoiled me, where from start to finish, he's involved. He's not just there on the sale and getting the check. He's there for the inspections. He's there for everything that you would hope for. He is there. So Ross, thank you for being there. I truly appreciate you and everything you've done for me and my family. And hey, people, buy and sell houses with Ross.Zipper. That's all I'm going to say. Ross, hang on here while the show is over. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.